Om Yam Brahma Varnendra Rudra Marutaha Shtanvanti Davoishtaboi Vedai Sangapada Krama Upanishadoi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavashtita Tadgatena Manasha Pashanti Yam Yogino Yashantam Naviduhu Sura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. Our eternal salutations to that one who is the truth of life and existence, and whom the saints and sages call by various divine names. Our eternal salutations to that one whose glories are sung in the various religious traditions of the world, and whose infinite and undying grandeur no mortal mind can comprehend. Our eternal salutations to that one upon whom the devotees meditate in the shrine of their hearts, realizing an ineffable presence in their deepest contemplations. May he prompt our minds toward the path of truth and righteousness. May she reveal herself into our souls and dispel the gloom of death, fear, doubt, and darkness. Om peace, peace, peace. Om Adihisa Samyoga Namitta Hetu Paras Trikala Takalapi Drista Tam Vishvarupam Bhavabhuta Mityam Devam Sachitastam Upasya Purvam. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. Meditate upon the Lord as thine own self, seated in your heart, who appears to you as the universe, and who is the ultimate source of all living beings. Perceive that one as the primal cause of the relationship between spirit and matter, and as the partless divine entity who transcends the three phases of time, past, present, and future. Om peace, peace, peace. Om Sahana, Om Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavo Vahai, Tejasvi Navaditamastu Ma Vidvesho Vahai. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. May Brahman protect us. May Brahman sustain us. May Brahman illumine our thinking process. May we not find fault with each other, with the world, or with the teachings. And may what we study be a source of inspiration to us eternally. Om peace, peace, peace. May peace be unto us, and may peace be unto all. Om Hari Om. Namaste. Salutations to all beings, salutations to humankind, salutations to the subhuman, salutations to the ancestors, salutations to the celestials, salutations to the gods and goddesses and deities, salutations to the seers and rishis and illumined souls, salutations to the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, God with form, and salutations to that formless Brahman Thou art what is real, what is true, and what is beneficial. And therefore protect us, protect our teachers, protect the teachings, Guru, Dharma, and Sangha forevermore. And with that invocation, we start into this class. This year in San Francisco, we've started a little different precedent, that being that we're having just one class 4 times a year here on the weekend at San Francisco Healing Center and SRV San Francisco, which has been together in cahoots as cohorts for a long time here off of Silver Avenue in San Francisco. This very room has hosted maybe 3 decades of different classes we've given on the Upanishads. If you have a quiver of arrows, then each one of those arrows inside should be one of the 108 Upanishads that are left. If you're listening to the Upanishad like you are today, you'll start a new Upanishad called the Tejobindu Upanishad. You could say, and somebody wrote me an email recently, Jogchen is a path that's gaining popularity right now. So they have a teaching in there called drop of light, like your soul is a drop of pure light. So that's actually a good meaning for Tejobindu, the Sanskrit term, which is one of the Upanishads out of the Atharva Veda, that is the 4 Vedas of India. If you say the word Upanishad, just to give some of you a new orientation, you're saying Vedanta, and you've come to a Vedanta class brought to you by this man in this day and age. Swami Vivekananda came over in 1893 to the Parliament of Religions in Chicago, and if we want to use a contemporary term, just blew everyone out of the water with this path for the age called Vedanta. And Vedanta, if you translate it into English, means the end of the Vedas. So at the end of the Vedas, you have these teachings that were distilled after many hundreds, probably thousands of years, because the Rig Veda, which may be the most ancient, can go back carbon dating some 5,000 years before Jesus. So these teachings were in vogue at that time, and practiced and realized by rishis, seers. Rishis are knowers of truth, and then passed on to their families verbally, like I was just chanting through these Sanskrit chants. Sanskrit being this most ancient of all languages, that Devabhashya, it's called the language of the gods. So in the Western Hemisphere, you might have Latin being kind of a language that's associated with divinity, but in the Eastern spheres, you have Sanskrit, particularly as that, because a whole cross-section of a race got illumined in that time. And they left behind many, many Upanishads. There are only 108 of those left. Some of them have been lost to, not to memory, but physically, because all of these Upanishads, they say they're living teachings. Like you heard my chants just now, salutations to the eternal Brahman and so forth, and true, the beneficial, the formless, the transcendent, the timeless, the deathless, the birthless. All these teachings of the soul's immortality were key to the Upanishads. So basically, it wasn't a message which has been desecrated nowadays by calling a person a sinner and sending you to eternal damnation or something, which is an offshoot of a fundamentalist side of religion. But it's more that not only is the soul birthless and deathless, but it's divine in nature. It's the way you start off in Vedanta, seeing yourself as perfect. Even Jesus said, "Be thee perfect as thy Father in heaven is perfect." So this message has been going around in both Eastern and Western religions. Moses talked about it, Abraham before him, Muhammad after Jesus. So depending on which side of the world you're looking at, East or West, I disagree with Rudyard Kipling when he said East and West shall never meet. Now, they have met in 1893 when Swami Vivekananda came and brought these Upanishads to us, because this is the man-making policy that will remove ignorance and destroy suffering. and raise the soul to its supreme status, it will realize again that it has had many, many lives, and that it keeps returning, which is a proof of the illusion of death already. You're still here, aren't you? So you'll still be here in the future. But it brings up some salient teachings in the Vedantas, whether or not you do want to get embodied again. Those of you who are very young, maybe if you've come to the idea of suffering earlier, that's a good thing, because suffering's a better teacher than pleasure. Pleasure tends to hypnotize you, and suffering wakes you up. So it's not like we want to end up being all morose and plagued by suffering, but the first noble truth of Lord Buddha is that there is suffering. And if you can face that off, and the father of yoga, as we've heard the word yoga in the West, is also very big on that teaching. You must face your demons, and it's one of the things he did when the monkeys chased him through these baboons chased him through a Himalayan village when he was walking, wandering with his staff, and this group of baboon-like monkeys saw him, and he was kind of getting nervous, you see, so he started walking faster, and they walked faster, and finally started running, and they started running after him. And then somebody poked their head out of a little building there in the village and said, "Turn and face the brutes." So he turned with his staff, and he raised his staff, and they all scattered. So he said he was a young man when he was walking like that before he came west. So he said that he always used that on his students, turn and face the brutes. These things that plague you are not real. They have no basis in reality whatsoever, and you can disprove them, and then live in a state of peace, which is your natural state. It's the soul's natural state is to be in peace, and it's a great message for today, as you know, because so many people have lost their peace of mind, and for so many different reasons. One of the worst probably right now is the 24/7 syndrome. I think it used to be 9 to 5, but now work and activity is taking up everyone's time, and you hardly have time to come to a class and hear someone speak about such high principles. But if you have come here and you are listening to it, I would say, we don't want to use the word elite, but I would say that you're in very rare company, as I was when I went to my teacher and heard these teachings when I was in my 20s, and heard the message I wanted to hear, and knew that it was the message of all my lifetimes past, and would be the message of all my lifetimes in the future, if I were to take any. So the soul has a choice whether or not it wants to embody. The soul is eternal, the body is not. So death is of the body only, action of the body only. That only happens in nature, but nature has come out of you. It's not the other way around. You see, the way you're being taught by science and biology and Western aparavidya, they call it, lower knowledge, is that you've come out of nature. See, first food, and then sperm and ovum, and then fetus, and then body, and then brain, and hopefully some intelligence visits the brain later, you see, and you can do some apt thinking, but basically it's the other way around. You set this all up yourself in Vedanta, and then you got into the body. You see, you started the ball rolling, and then consciousness decided to go and identify with the body. You see that in the case of a baby. Or maybe you've heard about Dalai Lama's pictures on the wall there, along with many other pictures of Jesus and other Buddha and great beings. You see, probably heard in Tibetan Buddhism that they figure the time of their birth, and they choose their parents. And they've come to know this through 1,400 years of study of what Swami Vivekananda has brought, what India has brought to the world. And coming to know that the soul has these choices. And we speak about choice in this lifetime sort of glibly, as if, oh, I can choose to do this and choose to do that. But if you have consciousness with you, if you have intelligence intact, and as this chart we're going to study today with the first sloka of the Tejobindu Upanishad says, if you can sit like this for several hours and breathe evenly and let everything else go, because nothing matters in the world except your true nature. There's no meaning to anything out there. There's no meaning to your life. So we're not some sampradaya or some religious organization to say, oh, find the meaning of your life. You are the meaning of your life. Find yourself. See? And then life will have meaning, otherwise not, isn't it? So all this search you're doing outwardly is futile. You go inside. Everyone said that, from Jesus to Buddha. Buddha said, be a lamp unto thyself. And Jesus said, you have no place to lay your head here on earth. All these souls whom we call great, no matter what religious tradition, they have exemplified, because there was no Christianity when Jesus was walking the earth, and there was no Buddhism when Buddha was embodied 550 years before Jesus. They didn't start a religion. They're not religionists. They're just walking, realized souls. They're the walking truth, and they want to come and exemplify this to you, so you too can be like them. Be thee like thy Father in heaven is. Your Father in heaven, however, is formless. And in today's day and age, we don't know anything about formlessness except one time. When's that? Deep sleep. When we go into deep sleep tonight, we realize that our nature is formless. But we don't take our awareness with us. We go into ignorance. A dark curtain falls over us. The seers have this eye open. If thine eye be single, you shall know the truth. I have the Dharma eye, Buddha said. Jnana Chakshu, Krishna said. My wisdom eye is open. So these beings, when they go into deep sleep, they'll go through this porthole. They'll leave the body and the senses behind, and they'll go through the dream state, and they'll go into deep sleep. And that's exactly what this means. This symbol, which we had on our wall with blue light posters in the 60s, you see. In college, we moved in, and the first thing we'd put up this Om sign, you see, with a blue light kind of reflection. And oh man, that's cool, you see. Most of us knew nothing about it. Walk around with the Om sign on our shirts. Once I was in New York in the 70s, and I saw someone had spray painted the Om sign on a rock in Central Park, you see. So I had to stop and salute, you see. So this is the Word. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And basically, if you look at it, you'll see what it means. A, U, and M is Om. A stands for your waking state. U stands for your dreaming state. And M stands for your deep sleep state. And if you go into deep sleep tonight, that's when your 5 senses will turn off. The 5 elements will go away. And the fivefold mind will stop thinking. And it'll even stop dreaming. So Indian seers from very early on asked themselves, what happened to me in deep sleep? Where was I? Where did I go? What happened? It really means what happens to me means what happened to the self I thought I was, because it went away. And then it came dancing back out of who knows where. So they wanted to know, who am I? You've heard that famous question, who am I? Ramana Maharshi and everyone back to Lord Vasishta taught that Atma Vichara question, to inquire into the nature of who you truly are. And if you do that, immediately you'll say, I'm not the body, and I'm not the 5 senses, and I'm not air, earth, fire, water, and ether, and I'm not my dream body tonight, because that comes and goes. I'm looking for something that's changeless. I'm looking for something that's stable. I want to build my house on bedrock, not on sand. And anything that changes is sand. I can't rely upon it. Just like you can't rely upon job and schooling and family to support you for very long. And this is why they give them up. See? I renounce family, I renounce job, I renounce money, I renounce all sorts of things. So you might say, well, that's not practical for the person of today. But our teacher and his guru, Sri Ramakrishna, said that you need to renounce everything internally if you're still living in the world. Outwardly, you can't renounce it because you have to do your duty. See, you have to make a living, support your family, whatever it is that you're doing. You have to put your attention on that and do it with full consciousness. But inwardly, you should know that it's as precariously balanced as water on a lotus leaf. If you want to re-speak an old adage out of the Upanishads, you see, It can go either way at any minute. It's volatile. It's constantly changing, mutable. And there's only one thing behind it, and that's you. You're the witness of everything that changes. So in Buddhism, they call that phenomena. See, and the Upanishad starts off talking about the supramundane. The good word for one of the Sanskrit words in there, supramundane. What is that? It's the opposite of relativity. It's the opposite of the phenomena. It's the noumena. See. So phenomena is constantly changing in front of your eyes and ears and senses all the time, and you're buying into it as if that change is real. And this is people's definition of reality. Their definition of reality today is what's changing. That can never be accepted by the Vedantist or by the Buddhist or by the yogi. Never. It's the unchanging that you're looking for. And you'll only be able to measure that when you yourself become unchanging. Like if you're on a train and the train's moving a little bit faster than you, then you'll be aware that you're not standing in one place. If the train are going the same speed, you can't tell, you see. So you have to become like your Father. Be thee like thy Father in heaven is perfect. How is the Father? Who is the Father first? See, who is the Father? It's not a form, not Jesus, not Buddha. They're just emanations of that. It's an ocean of light, a sorrowless ocean of light. Ashoka Jyotishmata. That's how the father of yoga put it. A sorrowless ocean of light. I told that to some person once. He said, well, what do? I meditate beyond form. I said, Ashoka Jyotishmata. Ashoka means without grief. See, Jyotishmata means self-illuminate. Self-illuminate. It's like the sun doesn't have to borrow light like the moon does, right? It shines by its own light. So that's yourself. You shine by your own light. So Buddha wanted his followers as he wanted to follow him, and he said, no, just use me as the example, but be a lamp unto thyself, because I won't be here for very long. And pretty soon he ate some poisoned food and laid over on his side and passed out of the body in Mahanirvana. Huge statues in India and even in Japan of Buddha laying on his side, going into the highest state of consciousness. So everything that's changing is not the real, is not what you're looking for. In fact, that's what you should be wary of, change. And like I say, you can only measure the changeless if you yourself become changeless. Everything is vibrating and moving around you. You're the center of everything. It sounds like a formula for egotism, doesn't it? I'm the center of my own universe. See? But it's not the way the realized soul means it. He means it in the terms of what's static and what's inactive, like you in deep sleep tonight. What happened to me? See? So the Om sign is not something to put on your wall or on a t-shirt and walk around showing it off like you know something. You have to find out what it means. You see this little, it's called svara up here. Svara is a one-eyed smile, I call it, you see. So that's not connected to any of the rest of the symbol. See, it's floating free. So there's a fourth state of your consciousness you don't know about. You know about your waking state. You're pretty good at that. See, although, like I say, it can leave you high and dry and make you suffer at times. But you know a little bit about your dreams. But did you know that your dreams are the kingdoms of heaven within you? I mean, that's a connection I've been trying to make in Vedanta for a long time, is that where are the kingdoms of heaven within you? Remember the old Kung Fu series with Caine and David Carradine playing the Chinese Buddhist, going through the Old West, throwing old Westerners with Kung Fu moves and things. There was one scene where he was standing talking to this padre down in, that must have been like Mexico. And the padre said, may your journey be safe, and the Lord above will protect you. And so the monk looked up in the sky like, well, I don't see him. Where is he? See? So our conception of God is that it's somewhere up there. There's nothing up there but a few elements. Probably 3, but at least you get all 5 here. You see, air, earth, fire, water, and ether. Up there you're going to miss 2 of them. So it's not going to be able to swim or breathe up there, because 2 of them are missing, you see. So what is your dream state? You're actually going into heaven when you go into your dream state. Of course, if it's a nightmare, you're going into hell. See? So it really, despite the experience you're having, you can't get caught up in that. That's why we don't meditate on our dreams in the sense that they mean something. They're changing. One night I'm in heaven, the next night I'm in hell. What does that mean? Number 1, it means that heaven and hell are in me, not down and not up. That I've conjured them up out of my mind, and now I'm living in them. People are living in their own worlds, they say. You see. So number 1, you should think heaven and hell are inside of me. They're nowhere outside of me. And number 2, I can transcend them. See. When's that happen? When I go into deep sleep. Do I think about higher and lower in deep sleep? Can you remember anything from your deep sleep last night? So this is precisely why traditions like Sufism have you tell your teacher about your dreams. Every day you go to your teacher and say, what did I dream? See? Oh, I dreamed about Muhammad in jeweled palaces. You see? Oh, very good, that's good. You know, that paradise and so forth. You've had dreams of heaven, you see. Allah is sending you his salams. So anyway, the point I'm making here in relation to the Om, as I give you a little introduction to this Upanishad, whose first word is Om, and whose first sloka is about Om, is that it means your 4 states of existence, A-U-M, and something that's beyond. So the M is your deep sleep state. You need to know a little bit about each of those. You know something about your waking state. Now I've told you that your dreaming state is the porthole to heaven, because when you go into sleep tonight, you dream forms. So you're in a subtle form. You're in your own mind, basically. Consciousness is within you. Kingdom of heaven is within you. And if you realize this, and then you realize that you're the stable principle, and you're witnessing all of this, now you're coming to a state that's called close to samadhi, or nirvana, Buddha called it. You're coming to a state of stability, or the peace that passeth all understanding. Those begin to make sense to you now. See, they're within you. But if you go into deep sleep, then you know almost nothing about that. Most people know almost nothing about that. And when you go to your teacher, particularly if he's a Swami of the Vedanta perspective, he'll tell you about your deep sleep state where you went formless, and how blissful you were in that state. Now bring your third eye into the picture. Open your inner eye, and thou shalt know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Thine eye be single. But not just in India. Christ very well may have gone to India and learned about the Word. And then he told John, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And that's 3 different things: waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. But this victorious state, Shvara, is beyond. It's not connected to waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. You go into a transcendental state. Satori in Zen, Asampragata in Yoga, Nirvana in Buddhism, Samadhi in Vedanta, beatific vision, Fana in Islam. I mean, all the religions have seers who have gone into a transcendental state, and from that state they have seen the whole world as a play, as a dream. They're looking from inside out on the deep sleep state to the dreaming state to the waking state. And they'll measure that in 3 ways, or sometimes they'll say 5 worlds or 7 worlds. You'll have that 7-world idea both in Judaism and in Hinduism, Vedanta. So they're looking from inside out. We're out here on the fringes trying to look outside in. Unfortunately, our savants in the West are having us, since we're outside, having us look outside and trying to look further out, you see. They have us seeking objects. The senses are outward going and they're attached to the objects. Isn't it obvious? War is all about gaining objects. The object could be a country, or could be resources, or could be objects of pleasure, money, any kind of object the senses are seeking. See, they think that that's going to satisfy them, the senses. But you know, you have 5 senses in your dream. Last night when you dreamed, how many dreamed? How many remember their dreams last night? A couple? Well, this is one of the things you want to do if you turn inside. Seek thee first the kingdom of heaven, you know, the Lord inside you. You begin to think about your dreams in the morning. One young man took initiation last night into our SRV order after the puja, and received the mantram that starts out with Om. And so his instruction is to meditate every day with the mantra inside for a period of time, and that will eventually have him looking at what his dreams are telling him. They're like signals or signposts. See, they're nothing to be sought. In Vedanta, we don't try and follow your heart or follow your dreams kind of thing. That's naive New Age thinking. We're looking for the highest, and dreams are not that. But dreams are a porthole into the dreamless state, your formless nature, the light of your consciousness, your true, timeless, deathless awareness, using which you've come back into form many times. So rebirth, reincarnation, as you've heard it and so forth, is a relative fact of Hinduism and Buddhism. They teach from that standpoint. But here in the West, you don't ever hear about that. Or if you have some sort of powerful dream, your psychologists, everyone from Jung to Freud, and your parents, everyone from father to mother to grandfather, and all your friends will laugh at you and say, don't think about that. See, nothing, that was nothing. But nothing is the most important thing in the world. There's a joke my brother sent me. He's a Vedantist. See, he and I came into the path together. So he sent me a joke cartoon on the email, you see. So I opened it up and there's this Buddhist monk in orange. And then there's this little boy, Buddhist monk, dressed in orange. And the whole cartoon is just one big box with nothing in it, and these 2 little figures. And the caption underneath is, "Someday, my son, all this will be yours." So if you're Buddhist, you want emptiness, nothingness. You're seeking the end of form. And to most of us, that's a scary thought. We love form. What produces form? Nature. In yoga, you want to get a divorce from nature. You want to quit being a bond slave of nature. Nature has come out of you. I mean, think about it. You have 5 senses in dream tonight, right? You have 5 senses out here, but you also fly in a dream, so you must have air. You also drink in a dream, so you must have water, and you must have a mouth and a tongue. So your subtle body in the kingdom of heaven has 5 senses. They're called subtle senses, and the Hindu children are taught this from before they can first understand words. That you have 3 bodies, not 1. Waking body, dreaming body, and deep sleep body. So we're at a fierce disadvantage in the West, not being taught these things. These things are called the Dharma. They're called Jnanam, higher wisdom. All we have is the lower wisdom to measure things by. Math, science, psychology. But in India, yoga psychology has been teaching you these higher truths from time out of mind. I mean, father of yoga, 140 BC, had incarnations prior and incarnations after that he told us about. So like Dalai Lama, I think this is what, his 14th incarnation? So he's aware of 13 other times when he was the Dalai Lama. So, you know, this is like, to us it's like, oh, this is new, or this is shocking, or whatever. But to them it's like old news. Of course reincarnation is true. It's true relatively. I mean, the soul being one and being perfect doesn't need to incarnate. But if it does, it can produce bodies. Where do the bodies come from? from your deep sleep state. Where do they get projected? Into your dream state. And then where do they become congealed? In your waking state. All of these things are your thoughts. If anything, if this sign is telling you anything, this famous Om, is that all objects are thought concretized. So nature couldn't have produced these without your thought, because you produced nature as a thought. What's it made of? Fire, earth, air, water, ether. 5 elements. Everything has the 5 elements in it, to different degrees. Where did the 5 elements come from? Earth came from sense of smell. Water came from sense of taste. Fire came from sight. And air came from touch, or touch came from air. And then ether is connected to hearing, right? Air is with feeling, but ether is hearing. So if you take these sets of 5 and go inward with them, you find that your five senses are connected to the 5 elements. The elements came out of the 5 senses. And in dream state, it's the same with your subtle elements. And your subtle senses, they're called tanmatras, and we know nothing about the tanmatras. In fact, there's no word in English for tanmatra. So we have to look into another culture and another race and another time that had a different language, that had explanations for dreaming state, who had explored dreaming state, like the Tibetans did, so they could see how many times they were reborn in it. So this is Vedanta 101, see what I'm saying right now. And I repeat it over and over again because the Westerner seems to be infatuated with and has been impregnated with these ideas that matter is real, that nature is independent. But nothing happens without your orders. Unfortunately, your senses are giving the orders instead of your Atman, yourself. Yourself should be giving the orders. Like, say, what's the first order in yoga? Non-violence. The first order you give your senses, called ahimsa. Gandhi was famous for it, you see. First order you give to everything is ahimsa. I will not commit violence to anything in thought, word, and deed. So if my country tells me to go to war, sorry, I can't. I have a vow of non-violence. I can't kill anything. And what's the vow of non-violence based on? The fact that the soul cannot be killed. If I do go to war and I kill, if I do it consciously, I won't accrue any karma because I'm not killing something that was never born. See? You've heard me sing about it, and they write songs about it. Aham nirvikalpo namrityor nashanka Name jati beda pita naiva me naiva mata majanmaha chidananda rupaha shivoham shivoham Start every sloka in India with Om, and you end it with Om. To remind yourself that reality is birthless and deathless. To remind yourself that reality has no beginning and no end. It doesn't have birth and death. And if nature is all they're teaching you, then nature is the realm of birth and death. And nature belies the fact that you have no action. You see, when you're sleeping in deep sleep at night, you're not acting. You're not even breathing. What is it? 400,000 breaths you take in and out a day, and at night when you're sleeping in 240,000. And in deep sleep, almost nothing. For minutes you don't breathe. And you don't lose any brain cells, like drowning or something. You see, you actually deprive yourself of air and lay there for minutes at a time. and in deep sleep. So what is happening? See that your breath turned off, your senses turned off, your dreams even turned off. Open your third eye in that state and see. See the light around you. And if you open your third eye in deep sleep, they say what you'll see is seeds. Where did everything come from? Seeds. Where are those seeds? In your own consciousness. So the origin of everything and its destruction is in your own consciousness. You project it, you sustain it, and you withdraw it. Everyone just do this for a second. Draw in a big breath through your nose. Let all your air out first, then draw one in. Now hold. Now let it out. There, you've just created, sustained, and withdrawn all the worlds in space and time. It's all in one breath. Your breath is actually telling you this is what you do. You see, so when you turn off your breath tonight, you turn off the worlds. Otherwise, where else did they go? They're in you. You turned them on. You dreamed about them. You congealed them. Then you went back into dream sleep, dissolved all this, went back into deep sleep, dissolved your dreams, and you were yourself again. And this one symbol of all symbols in any language is the representation of that truth, that I and my Father are one, or that all is Brahman, that thou art, they say. So turn off your breathing process and realize the deepest part of yourself. That's what I chanted at the beginning of the class. Adihi sa samyoga namitta hetu. Parastri kala dekalopi dristaha. And finally, meditate upon the Lord as your own self. Why are you meditating on God? There's no God. Yourself is God. See? So meditate upon yourself as the Lord. Where is He seated? In your heart. So in your deepest heart is that Atman, you see. And so you close your eyes, you turn your gaze down the bridge of your nose into the heart center, and you take a big breath, see, and you hold it, and you let it out. And you do this pranayama, you see, until the mind stops thinking about the world, stops thinking about activities, stops thinking about money, stops thinking about responsibilities, stops thinking about school. You renounce it. I cut it out of my thinking process. No problem, you can have it back later if you want it. Eventually you'll do it so much that you don't want it back. That's called a monk or a renunciate. A Jesus walking the forest. You don't want it back anymore. Why would I lick up the spittle I spat out on the sidewalk 2 minutes ago? See, once you've renounced the world, it's gone. You no longer want it. You just want this bliss you found inside of yourself. Why? Because it's not changing. Why? Because it's not letting you down. Why? Because it's your true nature. And the closer you adhere to it, the better for you. So Holy Mother, my teacher's teacher, used to say, the further you go towards the world, the less you will enjoy peace. The closer you get to God, the more you enjoy peace. So that God in our tradition is called Brahman, and it has one word in its vocabulary, Om. You can't say anything else about Brahman except that, because Brahman is unspeakable, it's unknowable. It can't be described with words. So you have to meditate on it. You'll have to go beyond the realm of words. Right now, this is called Dharma. You're getting teachings from somebody who got teachings from an illumined soul and so forth. It's called a lineage transmission. And so you can trace this back as far as the beginning of the Upanishads. Even before they were written down, they were reciting them. Because they took their children and they sat them down in front of them and they said, repeat after me, Yadipo nivatastu nengati sopamashmita yogino yatachichastya yunjata yogamatmanaha. Like a candle in a windless place, you should be. Meditating in the cave of your heart, like a candle in a windless place. And then they had to recite this back, and you told them what it meant. And there were no books involved in all of that. See? These were great sayings that were realized by the seers in their own deep meditations. I just chanted that at the beginning of class. That one who is meditated on by the devotees in their deepest contemplations. See? So your deepest contemplations is, you need to leave time for that. You're acting too much. You're thinking too much. Yeah, I know it's a bit aggravating. You see, you grow up and your father says, would you start thinking? Slaps you around a little bit, you see, try and get your thinking process going. So you start thinking, you see. Then you go to a Zen master and he says, would you quit thinking? So you've got a worldly father, earthly father, and you've got a spiritual father, see. So you got to kickstart the engine, think a little bit, and when you think about it, you find out it's not all so attracting. In fact, a lot of it is very unattractive. And then you find a master, and he says, well, then stop thinking about it. You see. Because thinking has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. What else has a beginning, middle, and end? Your breath. So your breath is just like your mind. That's why they count their breaths, you see, and their hands and so forth. And they do the mantra, they count them. And they want to become aware of your breath. First thing the Buddhists will tell you if you go to one of their groups, you see, oh, let's breathe. Because they know that you've lost track of what your breath means. That it has three movements. In-breath, held breath, out-breath. And there are two suspensions. Before you breathe, there's a suspension, right? You're not breathing right now. All of a sudden you'll go, you see. So there's a suspension before your first breath. Then there's an held breath, and then there's a expelled breath, and another suspension. Those two suspensions are the most important things about your breathing. The only thing you need to know about your in-breath, held breath, and out-breath is to even them out. Because you're breathing erratically. There's no held in there, so you don't hold anything, so you've lost your peace. It's all in, out, in, out, in, out, like a lot of other things in life, with not a lot of end result, you see, or a lot of sorrow in the end. So what you need to do is put the peace back in your breathing exercise, and then put the peace back in your sleep, and therefore put the peace back in your life. And then you have solid ground to walk on. Then you can live a productive life. Then life may have some meaning. Our teacher said, without the one in front of the zeros add up to nothing. So your life is a bunch of zeros. You think it's adding up to something, but in the end, death will come and steal everything. Oh, small self, you're just a sparkling fish sporting on the surface of the ocean of relativity, where death is granted as fishing grounds. That's a song in India. Oh, small self, you're just a sparkling fish sporting on the surface of relativity, where death is granted as fishing grounds. The whole thing implies that death is an illusion, you see. If you're in the depths, then death can't find you. Another beautiful song, and he says, karma, kama, and yama went looking for you after death. They went looking for the illumined soul. So like my teacher passes, Asheshananda, you see, whose name means the bliss of no residue. So my teacher passes, and so Yama goes looking for him. Who's Yama? Lord of death. Karma goes looking for him, the Lord of action. And Kama goes looking for him. What's Kama? Desire. You know, be careful. There is real love out there. So Yama, Karma, and Kama, these three gods go looking for the man who died, but they can't find him because he's left no trace behind. He lived 90 years as a monk, and didn't have any desire, and taught us how to do the same. So karma is activity, or the results of activity. Desire and death are unable to find you when you're a illumined soul. You remove all traces of them from you. You're not a sparkling fish swimming at the surface anymore. You dive deep. So Kabir, a great poet saint, sings, dive deep, O mind, into the ocean of God's beauty. If you descend to the uttermost depths, there you will find the gem of love. Go seek, O mind, go seek Vrindavan in your heart, where with his loving devotees Sri Krishna sports eternally. Light up, O mind, light up wisdom's shining lamp, and let it burn unceasingly with eternal flame inside your heart. Who is it that guides the solid boat of your body across this earth? It is your Guru, says Kabir. Meditate upon his holy feet. I memorized that when I was 21. So a beautiful message for people to dive deep into the oceans of God's beauty. Now, this diving deep, take a word with you. A word to the wise. That phrase has never been more pregnant than with this one word, Om. So that's why we'll Dirga Pranava, you'll take a big breath, and you'll shout Om, and there's a beginning, and there's a middle, and then there's an end, and everything dissolves into it, you see. So it's just like you're breathing again with a beginning, middle, and end. It's just like your life with birth, life, and death. It's just like your states of consciousness with waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. It's like all these triputis, all these triple teachings that are all around you, but you're not aware of them? How can that be? You're not aware of your own dreams being the king of heaven. You're not aware of your deep sleep being formless reality, where peace without, beyond understanding, exists. How can you not be aware of all these things? Because you're focused on the outer only, the external only, and you think that's real. How can I prove it to you otherwise? With words and teachings I can try, but okay, let's go to science. Science has proven that the objects are unreal. Well, it's not just the Buddhist monks who are telling you those objects are illusory. Science has proven they're unreal, that they're consisting of subatomic particles that change at a billionth of a second. That's what they're made of. So anything I pick up, you see, is just vibrating particles, vibrating so fast that these senses cannot apprehend them. So they're empty. That word in Buddhism, shunyata in Sanskrit. Shunyata means it's all empty. And why are you getting so excited about it when it has no value for you whatsoever? Number two, it can't fulfill you. So it's empty of substance, objects, and they're also empty of the ability to fulfill you. You covet them all your life and they let you down. How? They get stolen. They get destroyed. You become bored with them. There's a number of ways in which objects are absolutely unworthy of your attention. So when I met my teacher, he didn't concentrate on objects whatsoever. This man, his gaze always turned inward. And when he was out here in the world of the objects were immaterial to him. What he was interested in was your soul. I'm not talking about your ego soul. I'm talking about your Atman, your Buddha nature, your immortal soul. That's what he was interested in. He wanted you to realize it because that was the only solution to your predicament out here among the objects. Because everyone around you, parents, society, other nations, are coveting objects. They're racing after objects. when there's no meaning in them and there's no substance to them. It's insanity. See? So give up the infernal objects. Concentrate on the eternal subject. My teacher used to say, give up the infernal objects. Actually, I modified his saying. He said, give up the external objects. But then I changed it to, give up the infernal objects, you see, and concentrate on the eternal subject. That's you. See, you're the master of these things. I mean that in two ways. One, that you should control all of this. See, you should not be attached to it. The object should not dictate your life. You should dictate the object's life. Like, say, a TV or a cell phone, you see. They're dictating your life now. So you're following it everywhere. Just a bunch of little wires and capacitors and shiny screens. And you're forfeiting the light of your own consciousness that's all-knowing for this little object that knows only a little bit about the relative world. So I mean it in that way. But you should also mean it in the sense that all of these things have come out of you. And that way, you can call us atheist if you want. We don't believe that there's a God that's a judge, sitting on a throne in a cloud somewhere on high, dictating your life. You're that. You're the one that chose to come into life. And you're the one that will choose the time of your death. And you're the one that will choose your time of rebirth. Now, if that's true, then one important thing stands out. You better be a good chooser. You better learn how to choose. He was a good chooser. Lived all of 39 years and gave his whole life to humanity, and even brought the teachings from India to America, which they weren't allowed to do. See? If you brought the teachings from India to the land of the Malechas, we're untouchables, you see, because we're materialists. They don't think that we're worth anything. See? So he said, well, sorry, that eternal soul's in everyone, every race, every color, every person, every sex, every gender. So I'm taking it to them. And let's see what they do with it. So 1893, 1993, we just celebrated his sequicentennial on Earth, 150 years since he was born. And so there was, a couple years ago, there was a big celebration about Swami Vivekananda. And he was actually here in San Francisco once. We've got a holy land site in San Francisco where he stayed. And of course there's a Vedanta society here in San Francisco that I used to play music for and so forth in the old days. So these teachings were brought to you in a very undiluted form. I mean, he didn't really dilute them, but he made them comprehensible to us. Some of them are very high-minded. Like, you start talking about formlessness to people, and it'll either go over their heads or they'll get fearful. See? Breathless state, oh, why would I want that? See? One more breath. And the prana, life force. See, what causes me to see, what causes my hands to move, what causes my thoughts to come is all based in energy. Prana, it's called. We don't know anything about prana. Last time we heard about it was when Jesus told the disciples, man does not live by bread alone. Because they were living on fish and loaves and nets and rivers. And so the prana was in everything, but they didn't see it. Prana was in the sunlight. Prana was in the childbirthing. Prana was in the bread. But it's not by bread alone that you live. It's by this force, this life force. And it's the most addictive substance in the world. Cocaine and those things can't even hold a candle to it. Everyone's addicted to prana. If you really want to get to the hub of it all, it's prana that you're addicted to. Because that births the child. So this connects you to the realm of your ancestors. Your fathers and your mothers birthed you, and you'll birth your children. And when your fathers and mothers pass away, they'll pass back into the dream state, and then they'll want to be your children again. It's called collective consciousness. So one thing it tells you is that death is an illusion. Nobody dies because they were never born. That's why I just chanted that. You see, Namrit Jor Nasanka. He says here, I have no death, Namrit Jor, because I was never born. So he one-ups everyone that could possibly disagree with him. What do you mean you're deathless? Well, I was never born, and what's unborn cannot die. So he's talking about his soul. That doesn't have a birth. One of the worst fallacies about modern-day Christianity is they say the soul can be created. You cannot create a soul. A soul is eternal. And Jesus said so, and all the religions say so. So you have to think about your soul as being a principle that's eternal. It doesn't ever come into existence and then leave existence. It is never caught in waking and all of a sudden dreams, and then goes into deep sleep, and then comes back to dream, and comes back to waking. It doesn't breathe in and out and hold. It's all movement is absent in it. Like deep sleep would be one of the metaphors you'd use for it. It's just placid. It's static. Do you hear it in the silence? You're listening to me with attention, and I stop, and then all of a sudden there's Om, you see. Hum. I wish he'd stop talking more often. You see. If you heard Om, then you wouldn't be here. See. Or you'd come here only to be reminded, because the world can make you forget these things. You have 3 hours here with me today in which you'll remember everything divine about yourself. You'll leave through the door in the afternoon, and you'll forget it all. So if one or two things that I say here can reach you the way many of the things my teacher told me when I was in my 20s reached me, then you'll change your life based on it. And a change of life isn't talking about constant change in Maya or samsara. It's, I'm going to transform myself into my true nature. These things that are ephemeral, transitory, meaningless, that have a hold on me, that make me attached, that make me ignoble, that make me weak, that make me superstitious, I renounce those. That's the first thing you'll renounce. And you'll begin to stand on your own again, based on knowledge of your true nature being perfect. Liable of liable. It's the worst sin to call another a sinner. Who said that? Swami Vivekananda, when he was here in 1893, he told the preachers that were talking about sin, liable of liable, it's the worst sin to call another a sinner. In India, we know that all souls are perfect. Well, you could come back and say, but they're certainly not acting like it. And then he'll say, well, let's change that. See, let's transform our thinking back to the right perspective. I mean, if you walk out the door saying, I'm a sinner, it's all imperfect, everything's going to hell in a handbasket and so forth, well, that's either a big problem for you or a practical view. But you must go beyond practicality. You walk out of the door saying, I am perfect. Everything around me is perfect. Imperfection's an illusion. My eye is open, all three of them, see. And my whole day is going to be fully conscious. Not once will I lapse. So you're looking at me right now. When I quit class, the rest of my day is going to be in consciousness. It's not going to be forgetting. This is the way I've lived since I was in my 20s. My teacher taught it to me. And I don't change. You get a hold of your true nature and you keep it. Almost desperately, because when you see your true self and you see the changing world, you've seen the highest state of consciousness and the hells that are below you. People are living in hell. Those are called patalas in Sanskrit. Patala means sunken ground. They've fallen into sunken ground. But you raise yourself out of that. So, Om. Something about Om to start us out. what I saw painted on a rock at Central Park in New York with a spray can. Somebody painted it on there, and I was 20 and I saluted it. You see, put it on my wall. Had a T-shirt printed out. You see, in the '60s, and wore it. That's when you had to hide pot. See, now it's become a worse problem because you can get it. Not good for you. Not good for your spiritual life. So then I had to learn what it meant, you see, and all the 50 years since, now I meditate on it. It's in my mantra. I speak about it. It's the one word that you can assign to reality. All other words that are powerful, you can assign to Mother. In our tradition, we have Divine Mother. That's one of the advantages we have. Shakti, she's called. We see God as Mother, and she's always hidden, you see. And you have to propitiate her for her to come forward. And she's the power in everything, dynamic power. Shakti means dynamic power of God. It sounds even similar in Judaism. It's Shekinah, Shakti. So the religions have this idea about God as Mother, and Mother is intelligence. So if you have your intelligence intact, your higher thinking intact, then you have the best protection against all the vagaries and vicissitudes of life out there. If you take Mother with you everywhere, see, as your shield, she's a warrior. She's got you might have seen her with her 10 arms or her 4 arms and so forth. In our tradition, she's got a shield, and she's got a sword and a spear and a bow, and she's got the japa beads, and she's got a scripture. All her hands are full of these various divine articles. Come to know her. Surrender yourself to her, because Brahman is beyond that. That's why we don't pray in Vedanta, except maybe to her. It's because you can't pray to God. God is not a thing to pray to. If you are praying, and it's sincere, what you're really doing is praying to yourself, because God is in you. See? So you say, "Oh self, would you please listen to me?" But your mind says, "No, I won't." See? "Oh self, will you please listen to me?" But your ego says, "Fuck you." See? So you say, "Well, will you please listen to me, oh self?" And your thoughts go, "No, I've got other things to think about." See? So you've got 3 things railing against you in your mind: thoughts, ego, and your own dim intelligence. See? And your dual mind. I call it your drool mind. But your dual mind means this and that, higher and lower, virtue and vice, good and bad, pleasure and pain, life and death. These are dualities, and none of them are real. They've all been projected by this same mind. And if you put 7 billion of those together, that's a lot of ignorant power. You might have noticed out there, you see. You might have noticed. So the Upanishads have all of this for you plus more. I can't stop talking about the wisdom of the Upanishads. It is Vedanta, the end of the Vedas. The very last period, they gave you probably thousands of these, and there's 108 left. And this one is called the Tejobindu Upanishad. We'll start it today, and we'll continue it 2 months from now on another Sunday. So I hope you all will take a breath of 60 days. See? There'll be one long breath, and then you'll come right back here, and no time will have passed. And in that one long breath, I hope you will have heard this, and thought about it, and looked at your notes, and gone and picked up a copy, and become a Vedantist, because Vedanta is the path of the sage. It's still an underground river. It will show itself soon enough. You can't have a force like him coming to earth without some profound happening, but you just have to wait for it. And that's good time to wait for it, to qualify yourself, to be ready to hear it when it comes. And you can step up to it, because it's not a religion. It's hard to even call it a path. It's a statement of fact. It's a statement of truth. It's what you've been waiting for your whole life, is to hear this. I teach in prisons, see. So I have people come up to me after the first class in prison, the inmates, and they say, well, now I know why I came to prison. To see you, to meet you, to hear this. I wouldn't have heard it out there. Why? Because wife would have taken its place, children would have taken its place, job would have taken its place, money would have taken its place, schooling would have taken its place, wasted time would have taken its place, vacations would have taken its place, hanging out in bars would have taken its place, a few lines of cocaine taken its place, you see. So I never would have heard it. I needed to suffer to hear it. Do you notice how Jesus suffered? How Buddha suffered? They don't come here to have fun. Holy Mother said that to us. My children have not come here to have fun. They know this life is good for getting enlightenment. They know that the real purpose of life is to transcend death. So you need to realize you're a mortal soul. And when you do, your fear will go away, because most everything that people are doing out there is based in fear. And it's quickly followed by doubt. Like try and get into a pack of batteries. Has he tried that lately? So, you arm yourself, scissors, knife, because you've gotten used to this. See, it's fear packaging. It's all greed, they want to make money off it, and in that greed is buried all their fear that they won't make money, and they have to make it more attractive, and then now it's so tight that you can't get into it. But there's even a worse thing that happens. When you get the knife and the scissors, you hurt yourself. So it's a lesson in karma yoga. You see, like, can't even get into this with scissors, jam, all of a sudden you cut, You lose your patience. You lose your balance. You fall out of yoga. So everything is based in fear. So Vedanta strips this fear away from you, because you'll see that death is an illusion. There's a big song in India that says, I have received a command from the Divine Mother of the universe that death must die. So sorry, death, I'm going to put you to death. Ingenious thinking, you see. What is it that's really plaguing me here? All our lives, what is it that's plaguing us? That we're going to die. You know how Shankara sings it? Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Mudamate, Samprapte Sanihite Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukrin Karine. Adore the Lord. Adore the Lord. Adore the Lord, you fool. When the time of death comes, what good will anything do you? So he goes on singing, and he says, when I was a baby, I was attached to my mother's breast. When I was a young boy, I was attached to sport. When I was a young man, I was attached to a young woman. And when I was old, I was attached to anxiety. Why? Because death is coming. See? So you must prove yourself to be an eternal soul. You've come here to master death. That is, master the idea of death, because it's not a reality. You'll have to face off with death, like Yama. You have to go up to him like Nachiketas did. One of these Upanishads is called the Kato Upanishad. Nachiketas goes to his father. His father's giving things away because he's going to renounce the world. So Nachiketas says, well, Father, I'm one of your things. Who are you going to give me to? And the father's irritated at the moment. So he says, I give you to death. It's like saying, go to hell. So Nachiketas is a very serious young man. He goes, to death? Okay, I'll go looking for death. I belong to him now. So he goes, and he speaks to some wise people. Oh yeah, Death lives in a cave with Mrs. Death. You see. just down the road there. You're going to have to go there and find him. Knock on his door. So he goes and knocks on the door. This is in the Upanishad, it's a story. So he goes and knocks on Death's door, and Mrs. Death answers the door. See? Oh, I'm sorry, he's not right here quite. You see? So he says, you may come in, because you have to invite the guest, you know. So the guest comes in, he sits down, waits. 3 days, Death doesn't show up. Finally, Death comes, Yama comes through the door, and sees his guest there and says, oh, I'm so sorry I kept you waiting. So, since I kept you waiting 3 days, you can have 3 boons. See? So, first boon, he says, oh, well, I want to make sure that my father's not angry at me. See? I want my father to forgive me. So he takes care of his worldly duties. Second boon is, I want to know how to do proper sacrifice. Because yagya is a very important thing to the Hindus, to do sacrifice in the world. Third thing was, I want to know what's beyond death. When Yama balks, you see, sorry, no mortal can know that. You can't know what's beyond me. I'll give you dancing girls, I'll give you palaces, I'll give you sumptuous foods, I'll give you gold, I'll give you all this, you see. And Achikitsa says, no, I'm firm. I have to know what's beyond death. So that's the first chapter of the Upanishad, and the second, and third, and fourth chapter is Yama sitting him down and telling him what's beyond him. That's spirituality. That's truth. That's what you're not hearing from your parents, and they didn't hear it from their parents, and they didn't hear it from the line of ancestors that stretches back 1,000 years of tyranny. Quoting his words, you're under 1,000 years of tyranny from your ancestors. So this is how deep delusion goes. It's lifetimes old. Oh, hello, you straight-laced lady, dressed in white, but your shoes aren't clean. Painted them up with polish, but in the cracks we can see where you've been. So society is so old. Society, you see, it's an old 60s song. But if you look in the cracks of those painted shoes, you can see where things have been, you see. Back 1,000 years where this tyranny started in Europe. I mean, what is America afterwards? Anyway, you see, it's basically alcohol, cigarettes, and war. That's America. And now drugs. Drugs in 2 ways, the recreational kind and the pharmaceuticals. So Maya can double, you see, its delusion. And that's the way it's like a many-headed hydra, you see. It's just continually producing more delusion out of itself. And people are buying into it. And this is not freedom. This is bondage, deeper and deeper bondage that you're having. And you must train your senses away from it first. The senses must come under your control. Oh no, I'm sorry, I won't see that. I'm sorry, I won't listen to that. Gossip, fault-finding, fables, lower wisdom only. I must hear the truth so the truth can set me free. I have to find a person who is in know of the truth, and I must listen for a good long time until I'm detoxed. Because 1,000 years is a lot of toxic waste in you, in your mind. A lot of toxic waste. You can run it out in one lifetime, but you have to be intense about it. You have to be absolutely dedicated. I will get free in this lifetime. Buddha left his parents. They were rich. King Sakya, his whole clan, he left. It's because he saw 4 signs when he went out of the palace. He saw a sick man, he saw a dying man, he saw a burning corpse, and he saw a monk. And so he said to his father, who's the king, you see, well, I didn't know the world outside the palace was like this. And immediately he was turned off to it all. There was averse to it all, and he left. Even people don't know this, Buddha had a son. And he named him Rahula. Rahula means chain around my neck. So this is the nature of this Indian soul, because Buddha was a Hindu. Don't think of him as Chinese or Japanese. He came right from Mother India. So he renounced everything and left. just like Jesus left. Remember Jesus on the steps? The parents couldn't find him. Saw him talking to one of the Pharisees on the temple steps. Went up to him and said, "What happened, son? Where'd you go? You didn't come home last night," or whatever. "Oh, I have to be about my Father's business." And they never saw him again till before the crucifixion, evidently. So they leave at a young age. They're here to waken souls up. "Come, I will make you fishers of men." Isn't that his message? Must waken you up, and you must go waken others up, so that this world bewitching Maya will not get the upper hand on us all the way into our old age. From the cradle to the grave, my teacher used to say, man is bound, not knowing his true nature to be perfect and pure, birthless and deathless. So that's my preamble to the Upanishad. We didn't even get to the first sloka, but we're in no hurry. In fact, let's take a 10-minute break here, and we will come back. I hope you'll all be back for another hour.
Babaji?
Yeah.